one is like demented as hell. White visitors to Vancouver Art Gallery can compare their faces to infamous Nazis. So if you're not aware, there is this truly sick and twisted art gallery in Vancouver funded by the Canadian government that tells white people to stop talking, enjoy discomfort, check their privilege, vocalize their ignorance. It's basically just for the woke white libs who want to walk through and just need to feel something, for the first time in their lives. And they get abused by the exhibit, and they, get off on that because they're sick.
Okay, so maybe you've seen this tweet about a new anti-white exhibit at the Vancouver Art Gallery. The exhibit is actually so much worse than this tweet, and I know because I went there. Predictably, it tells you to check your privilege. It puts a halo that says undeserving over your head. Stop talking, puts a mute button over your mouth. But then it gets downright schizophrenic. There's this exhibit display where it argues that because Roman and Greek sculptures had fluffy curly hair, they were not white. You are then afforded the opportunity to use the Aryan recognition tool and compare your facial measurements with the facial measurements of the leaders of the Third Reich. This incomplete timeline of the circumstances that influence the emergence and evolution of white racial identity tells white people that their identity is all about slavery, the KKK, colonialism, etc. The last item on it is the January 6th insurrection.
Of course.
Anyway, go read the full thing on True North.
Y'all are really sick and twisted. This is disgusting. To make people feel, potentially small children, walking into this art gallery, that their entire identity is made up of only the evils of their people. Their people. I don't even like the language, their people. Like, I understand being connected to your culture, but like, for me, I've always just found it weird to even connect with like people that are not in your bloodline, like directly, and like, your family, like just the whole idea of like, answer for what black people do, answer for what white people do. It's like, y'all in that collective brain is just too much for me. I mean, most people today walk through life so desperate to be told who they are. They want it so damn bad. They have such a lack of identity that they want their, search for who they are simplified, and they just want to be told the oppressor. You're the victim. You're being discriminated against. You're responsible for this. And it becomes their identity. But the difficulty in that is it is ripping apart society. The idea that there are children that are going to walk into this museum and be told that everything that makes them what they are amounts to only these evils of the past that have nothing to do with them. And then you have children of color in American schools being brought up that the sum of who they are is, people who aren't them being victimized in the past. And they're not taught that that's something that they can overcome. They're taught that that's something that will always be present and it's part of their identity. But the problem with being told what your identity is that it's very hard to unglue from it. So the Dartmouth Scar Study was a study that brought a bunch of women together to go out on job interviews, and they would put special effects, prosthetic scarring on their faces. The goal was to send them out and collect data on how people with facial deformities are discriminated against during job interviews. But last second, before they actually left to go do the interviews, they touched up their makeup, the researchers, and they removed the scarring. They got rid of it, but they didn't tell the women. Amazingly, they actually came back and reported massive levels of discrimination. They reported that there were, offensive comments made about them, that they were being treated badly. And they actually had direct quotes from the interviewers that they perceived to be discriminatory. And the moral of that story is you create your own reality. If you go into the world expecting to find discrimination, hatred, things stacked up against you at every turn, that's what you're going to find. That's the frequency that you're tuned into, baby girl.